And I have the pleasure of introducing our next speaker. But before we get started, I have a few housekeeping items. If you run into any issues viewing this presentation, or if you have a question for our speaker, use the Q&A box at any time and we'll respond right away. Be sure to check out the additional resources from today's speaker, including a PDF version of this slide deck in the resource section below. This session will be available for viewing on demand, so you'll find it back in the Engagement Hub when it's ready to be replayed. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our expert speaker for today. A collaborative and polished marketing leader for 20 plus years, Eric Eden knows how to manage global marketing campaigns that deliver results. With a strong dedication to building high-performing teams and driving B2B marketing demands, he offers an impressive track record of managing large-scale projects and creating strategic plans that enable customer acquisition, sales growth, and overall business development. Now serving as Chief Marketing Officer at Postclick, he leads the marketing team for a tech-enabled services platform that maximizes advertising conversions for consumer brands around the world. Eric, I'll turn things over to you.
Thank you. Good day, everyone. I'm excited to be here and share with you the topic today of adapting your personalization strategy for shifting budgets. Hope to share with you some very interesting current trends and some ideas for how to navigate the waters in what has been a pretty remarkable year. So what we're going to discuss today is three things. Consumer spending trends, a look into the dramatic changes in consumer behavior across industries that we're seeing in 2020. We'll discuss the theme of how to do more with less. I think that's something that advertisers and marketers are really faced with this year. So how do you achieve more with the advertising budget that you have? And in the spirit of solutions, we'll talk about how relevancy can create opportunities. Personalization at scale addresses brand and agency challenges. And we'll talk about some of those solutions today. So without further ado, I think it's helpful before we jump in to talk about today to just look back over the last 30 years. And many of you have lived this over time, the changes in advertising. And there has been a shift from one size fits all to one-to-one relevancy that's possible in advertising. So if you think about all these technology changes, I won't read this slide to you. It's pretty remarkable in how far we've come over the years from the original banner ads back in the late 1990s all the way through all of the advanced technologies and ad tech that we have today, both in the platforms and things that sit on top of the platform. So when we think about this, I think it's pretty clear to everyone that Google and Facebook, the growth over the last 15 years has been really tremendous for both of these companies, particularly to their advertising business. So you can see in the chart on the left, how they've grown. And even during 2020, the first quarter, the results for Facebook and Google, it's true that they grew less than they expected. But even during a global pandemic, they still put up some pretty good growth rates. So advertising, remains strong, and I think these two platforms are clear leaders. The markets have rewarded them for that, but advertising is strong, and let's talk about how some of that has shifted a little bit during 2020. One really remarkable thing is that if you look at how much consumers are buying online, in the last 8 weeks, the amount that people are buying online versus in stores has more than doubled. And that's pretty remarkable because going from 14% of retail purchases happening online to more than 27% in just a period of 8 weeks, at the normal trajectory we've been on, that would have taken 7 years. for us to see that level of adoption. So we've grown the adoption of online commerce in the last eight weeks more than we anticipated it would be in 7 years. That is a pretty mind-bending statistic. It makes practical sense for all the health safety concerns that people are buying more online, but it's a pretty remarkable shift and trends. And so I think it is impacting consumer buying behavior, what they're spending money on, and a lot of companies are having to respond with how they think about their budgets. So let's talk about how that digital ad investment is changing. I think a lot of traditional advertising channels are going online because that's what the consumers are doing more and more for all the practical reasons. We just talked about the skyrocketing e-commerce sales. So consumers getting things directly and having it delivered to them versus going into the stores on a much more regular basis. A dramatic variation by demand in industry, geography, and the customer base. So companies have to think a lot more clearly about, who they're targeting and what people are buying during these times. And a critical need for an agile strategy and optimized messaging. And I think all of this leads to a prioritization of the MarTech and AdTech investments that people are making. All of this really adds up to considerations around accelerating a shift from one-size-fits-all advertising to a much more one-to-one personalized approach. And we'll talk a little bit about why that makes sense. But as I talk to a lot of other CMOs, marketing and advertising leaders, these are some of the things that are becoming very clear this year. Reevaluation of strategies, reworked budgets, justifying spend, the need to increase the return on advertising spend more than ever. These are the trends that I'm hearing from our customers and my peers in the industry, that these are the real issues that people are facing. But the good news is that there's over 1 trillion data points out there to help us as marketers. We have a lot of data. We all know that Facebook collects, for example, more than 98 data points about each person using the solution, and you can use those data points to target and personalize things to people. So data is one thing that's on our side in terms of personalizing things and making them more relevant. And I would just say you can read some of these stats here, but it's very clear that consumers really want a more personalized experience. No one likes things being very generic. That causes people to just tune out. And the stat on the far right here, it's kind of obvious that if you're more personalized, you're going to get a much better return on spend. And so the main ways to be relevant is to be intentional, to be timely, and to be personal. And we can use all of that great data to do those things. And as we talk about it, I think a lot of the discussion over the years has been about getting more clicks and getting more traffic and getting more visitors, ultimately so you can get to the more conversion. But I think what we need to focus on is clicks aren't converted really that easily. So I'm a dog lover. I think I mean this in good spirits here, that getting people to click and then buy is important versus just getting clicks. And one thing to really consider is for Google search ads, the average conversion rate is 4%. So 96% of ad clicks do not convert. And if you just stop and think about that for a minute, this visual representation just shows some hard thought should really go into that of, does that really make the most sense? Is that what success looks like? Or can we reach for more? And so it does vary by industry, but an average being 4%, I think performing above average should definitely be the goal. 96% of people not converting doesn't doesn't really appear to be that efficient, from Google search, which is, one of the dominant platforms that people use. So I think that savvy marketers understand a personalized experience must continue beyond the ad. So I think a lot of advertisers do a great job of personalizing the ads, but then the page that they link to isn't personalized in the same way. So if you bring those two things together, it can have a dramatic impact on that average 4% conversion. But it definitely takes more effort to create more personalized experiences. But I think if you look at the results, it'll definitely be worth it. And I think I just accidentally skipped over the slide, but essentially when you think about it, some advertisers, based on the breadth and the scale of their campaigns, may need to provide many different personalized experiences, not just 1, 2, 3, 5, but maybe as many as 100 or 1,000. And scaling that personalization is really important. But to not provide it and send everyone to just one or a few landing pages is really where a lot of people experience the pitfall of the lower conversion. So I think, the one-to-one ad-to-page personalization is more than a nice to have. It is really a pivotal factor in getting higher conversions, a lower cost per action, and an overall better brand impression. I mean, the way that the consumers experience buying, if they feel more personalized about it, they're going to feel a lot better about your brand. So I think that this is very, very important from that perspective. So what we're really talking about here is post-click automation is a new category. You're all very well familiar with the advertising platforms that we've talked about and the acquisition tools that come, when the conversion happens. But really, right when people click, providing that post-click experience is customized is a new category, and is something that marketers and advertisers should be investing in. My experience is a lot of advertisers and marketers focus too much on the pre-click investments or just on analytics that are after the fact of the conversion. So, with the right post-click strategy, you'll achieve higher conversions and reduce your cost per action. I think that's a pretty powerful, result. And a strategy that delivers in these three key areas is what you're really looking for. The increase in return on advertising spend, the decreased cost per click from much better quality scores, and better efficiency. I think, can you automate some of this? The automation and post-click automation is important. You doing all of this manually is very, very hard. And that's one of the areas that we really work with a lot of our customers on is how to automate this. Companies that have not adopted a post-click strategy, they usually have not because they don't have the people, they don't have the process, they don't have the strategy, and they don't have the technology to automate it. And so these are all, things that we do at Postclick to help our customers. If you can do all those things yourself, that's great. But I think those are kind of the four keys. And I think post-click automation results in a successful full funnel optimization. It unlocks the hidden value from your existing ad budget and uncovers the opportunities for higher conversion. And so particularly in 2020, we're going through some pretty remarkable times. These sorts of strategies, exploring them now is probably the right time to do that. So some key takeaways from today is I think that the global changes in consumer buying behavior underscores the need for digital ad investment and personalization. You can't just throw more at it, you have to be better at it. The one-on-one personalization is essential to successfully navigate the shifting consumer behaviors. Things are changing. It's definitely not the same as 2019 or 2018. And post-click automation optimizes the full advertising funnel and really unlocks the hidden value. So these were some of the key insights I wanted to share with you today. I just wanted to end with a simple offer around Postclick strategies. If your company would like help in evaluating your current Postclick strategy, we're happy to do a complimentary analysis, provide you some of our Postclick scoring and best practices that we've seen. So feel free to reach out to me directly if you'd like to talk to me and the team at Postclick about that. We'd be happy to help with you. So this is my contact info. Feel free to drop me a note, and I appreciate your time today. And here's wishing you all better conversions in the future.